We keep getting picked on, us small people. We really do. We really do. Optional stepladder coming soon.
Goddamn, why you acting rude? I get that coin, damn, why you acting so brand new? Yeah, just let's get.
Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today's a big one, and that's no pun intended, because we have the all new Ford Ranger Raptor. Yeah, a video I've been very excited to shoot because I got to experience this very briefly over 2 years ago, and now Ford have given me the chance to have it for a week, and I'm very grateful. But there's one question, because Ford boldly claim that this is the strongest, most biggest and most capable pickup on the market. And I suppose that gives us the story to line today to see whether those claims are true. Let's find out. All show, no trousers is the best way to describe the Ranger Raptor's choice of engine, because this thing looks awesome. You have to agree with me, it really does. But unfortunately, what engine's been put in here really does let it down. It really does, especially when in the United States they get 3.5 litre V6s with 450 brake horsepower and crazy amounts of torque. Whereas here in the UK, we're stuck with a 213 horsepower, 2 litre twin turbo 4-cylinder diesel engine that's probably from a Transit. And it really is underwhelming. It does really spoil the character of this truck. It looks absolutely fantastic on the outside, but here it's a disappointment. But fortunately, for my opinion anyway, that's the only thing that lets this down, because it does everything else perfectly. Now, if you weren't much of a car enthusiast or a pickup enthusiast in this case, you wouldn't probably know too much about the engine choice, and you'd be fooled by the looks of this thing and the presence, because it is humongous. Now, you can probably gauge how big it is with me standing in front of it, because it's overwhelming, it really is. But I absolutely love it. It's ridiculously pointless, but at the same time, every time you look at it, you want one. You really do. And what's the difference between this and a normal Ranger? Well, they've actually made this 150 millimeters wider, thanks to the big bulbous arches that are on both the front and rear, and they've risen the ride height by over 85 millimeters. And yeah, it definitely is scary. Well, I can only imagine it's scary to everyone that passes you, because you wouldn't want to be hit by this thing, you really wouldn't. And thankfully, Ford have given you some side skirts that allow you to jump in and out of this pretty easily. And although it is big, it's surprisingly easy to drive on the road. Yeah, it's crazy. It really is how they've managed to make something so big, but something so easy to live with. And I suppose that's the biggest benefit of an all-terrain vehicle, is that you can do anything with it. Oh, why do I love this so much? It's ridiculous, it really is. Climbing into the Ranger is an experience in itself, and me being a midget should hopefully justify to you guys how big this thing is. It's truly huge. And sitting in the front of this thing, you're greeted with loads of space. You could literally swing a cat in here. It isn't shouting cheap in here. You're greeted with some leather stuff, lots of buttons, not too much, enough that you can get around pretty easily. And you've also got a lovely 8-inch touchscreen with sync-free Ford's latest software update on their infotainment side. And you've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You've got these big, massive seats, lots of bolstering, not too much, but enough to feel comfortable, especially on long journeys. And of course, they've got butt warmers, so you can have yourself heated and still have fun. One thing though, there's no heated steering wheel. And whilst filming, it has been raining, but it's been warm recently, so there's been no need for it. But in the winters, especially for this sort of vehicle, you will be pushing it through its paces all throughout the season. So yeah, it's a shame there's no heated steering wheel function, but the steering wheel itself is big and chunky. I really do like it. You've obviously got all your buttons here to allow you to function your driving modes. There's 6 in this. I will speak a little bit about that later. So you can control that. You've also got your normal cruise control and your audio functions. Additionally, you've got these flappy paddles. Now you may be thinking, why is there flappy paddles in a pickup truck? Now that's a good question, one that I can't answer, but all I can say is they are epic. Now these aren't plastic, these are actually magnesium, and you can hopefully hear it on camera, and they look awesome. And they're so big that wherever you are on the steering wheel, you can easily access them. Now, I haven't had the need to use them because I've just been commuting from work and doing a little bit of off-roading here and there. So I haven't had the use for them. I can imagine they're more useful for when you're doing high-speed desert stuff, which I'm not going to be able to experience because I live in the UK. But fun fact, these are actually from the Full GT. Yes, the Full GT. It's good to see that they've at least transferred something from the Full GT onto the Range Raptor. But I think they got it wrong. It should have been in the engine department that they should have taken inspiration. But hey, yeah, the interior in the front is great. You could easily live in this and enjoy it. And yeah, there's no complaints here, no complaints. Let's have a look in the rear. Unlike the front, in the back here in the Range Raptor is not as spacious, I'm going to be honest. Now, I'm 5'9" and I don't have too much complaints here, but for a taller person, it's soon going to get very crowded in the back. Now, I don't know whether that's because of the black headlining or this big seat that protrudes into the passenger space. It's a big, big seat. But yeah, I will see taller people struggle, really will. And Ford have given us a third seat belt. Why? It's definitely not going to work. Definitely. Like most modern cars, you wouldn't want to be sitting 3 people in the back here, especially with the big transmission tunnel. It's really going to eat up into leg room for the third person sitting in the middle, and they're probably going to hate you, so you don't want that. You really don't. But I can demonstrate that I have plenty of leg room and headroom. It's great being a midget. And here we are at the rear. Whew, I'm out of breath. This thing is so long, it takes an age to get to it. But I'm going to show you one of the many party tricks that the Raptor has to offer. That. What a sound. And if you're watching and you sell these for a living, that's the one and only thing you need to do to be able to sell them and be successful, because that is truly an awesome sound. Now, there isn't really much to say here at the rear, other than it's still big and you can shove lots of stuff in here. The one problem, however, is Ford haven't given me a ladder, because they seem to forget that they've risen the ride height of this and made it bigger. So how do you expect me to get into the back of this? Now, of course, you're not going to carry me in there as such, but it's a big struggle, and I'm going to hopefully demonstrate without making myself look like an idiot. Oh, Jesus Christ. And because they put all this ridging across the floor to help with keeping your payload safe, it's a knee crusher. Oh, Jesus. Woo. Yeah, this isn't very nice. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know how to open this. So it feels like I'm in an oven or a hearse. Either one is not ideal. But let's move on to the driving thing, because that's what apparently I'm meant to do. But yeah, we keep getting picked on, us small people. We really do. We really do. Optional stepladder coming soon. So we've already established not to be fooled by all the Ford Performance badging slapped around this truck, because we know that the engine isn't the greatest of choice, and that's the same for the gearbox, unfortunately. It just seems like it's in overdrive constantly working its arse off, and not in a good way. It just gets confused and can never really seem to find the right gear when you need it. Of course, you've got the semi-automatic 10-speed gearbox, which is just stupid. 10 gears, Ford, really? I mean, I thought 7 gears was enough in ZF boxes, but 10, really? And for the application that we've been given in this, it just doesn't really seem suited for it. Yes, you've got the flappy paddles, which are great, inspired from the full GT, but I haven't had the chance to use them or the need to use them. Yeah, I just can't grasp the reasoning behind it all. I really can't. But yeah, the gearbox and the engine, nah, not great. But you can soon forget about it because you're in a pickup truck. This is a 2.5 ton box on wheels, and with these BF Goodrich tyres, all-terrain tyres that aren't really great for the road, you don't really want anything faster because you just can't use it. You really can't. Even now in this application, the power you want to use is 10 brake horsepower, because anything more than that, you just understeer into a tree or oversteer into a tree. Either one, they're not great. So yeah, you could probably argue that the engine choice isn't as bad as I'm making it out to be, but with how this truck looks, how it looks on the road, how it looks to other people, you want it to have more character in the engine department at least, and of course the exhaust. There are benefits, of course, fuel economy. Now, it's not great still, but I imagine it's better than the single figures you'd probably be getting from an equivalent in America. Ford say you can get roughly around 30 to 32. I'll put the actual exact figure in the video below. But for me, I've been doing mostly town driving, a bit of dual carriageway, and the 1 or 2 runs on a green lane. And I've been getting around 27, 26 miles to the gallon, which is, would I say respectable? Is probably not the right word, because that is pretty dreadful. But again, we are in a 2.5 ton truck, so it's carrying around some mass, so you've got to give it its props, you really do. Could you use this every day? You'd be mad to, you really would. The size, even though it is big to look at, is actually hidden really well in here. I think it's all thanks to the higher up driving position that you've got. You feel quite open to the elements. You can see everything. I have a clear view of the can't even say it. I've got the field of view of everywhere of the truck, from the sides to the front and the back. So it's actually really easy to drive and actually live with. The problem you run into is when you then get onto very narrow B roads, or just B roads in general, because even traditional modern day cars struggle on those sort of roads. I always have problems, even in my 335D, for example. So this is, yeah, definitely a challenge. Luckily, I haven't had too many run-ins with other people on B roads, but inevitably you're going to get it at some point. But yeah, unlike the F-150 Lightning I drove a few days ago from filming this, yeah, that was an even more of a struggle because it was left-hand drive and I just probably wasn't used to it. But in this, yeah, it's actually quite nice, and thanks to the Fox suspension that dampens both for slow speeds and high speeds, the ride is awesome, considering that these have got full-blown off-road tyres on it with really rock-hard sidewalls. The ride is absolutely sublime, it really is. And yeah, for like everyday driving, that's actually really nice, because UK roads especially are terrible and it just soaks up everything lovely, it really does. Yet when you come to a corner, it's not so much. To be fair, I haven't even dared to try and take a corner fast, especially now when it's wet, because the tyres just give you no grip at all. I remember back when I drove this 2.5 years ago at SMMT in Witherby, you guessed it, it was raining very badly as well, and I didn't quite gauge how much grip I was expecting to have, so I was just taking a roundabout, normal speed, nothing silly, didn't want to provoke it, wasn't aiming to, and the whole thing rotated. Now, rotating a normal car is fine, you can learn to control it, but with this, because of the weight and there not being much weight on the back of the cab, I had to change my pants. It was a bit messy, but yeah, that's one thing I would say is, if you ever wanted to own one of these, you have to recalibrate your mind on how to drive it, because this isn't a car, so you can't drive it accordingly. You've got to have a completely different outlook to preparing to get in this and drive it on the road. Brakes, again, it being such a heavy beast, you have to sort of anticipate the corner like a mile before you get to it, because yeah, even if you try and go slowly around it, you can manage it, but when you're going faster, you definitely have to be on your game. But hey, this is a pickup, as I've said already. Ford haven't tried to market this in the way of being a supercar, for example, because A, they couldn't, it would be impossible for them to market it that way, but it would be stupid for them to try and even attempt to make it something that it's not. Just for that reason, it would be impossible. And you soon, the more I've actually got to experience this, the more you start to learn that yes, it isn't meant to be a B-road blaster or a performance car in that sense. It's designed to do anything, anywhere. And although we haven't had snow or whatever any other natural disasters that you'd get, I've been able to take it on some green lanes, which are very muddy, very rutty, and this thing did it with no hesitation. It just had no complaints, straight away threw it into the deep end, and it did it in absolutely awesome fashion. And that's all thanks to the fact that you've got not only rear wheel drive, you've got four-wheel drive, both in low and high range settings, along with a lock-in rear differential, so it allows you to maximize traction if you get into a sticky rut, and that alone just wins me over. It really does. This isn't just a marketing gimmick that's just been put on stilts and then thrown out to the consumer to go and buy. They've actually put thought into this. And when you look into it even more in detail, you've got an all-terrain system which you can access through the driving modes button on the steering wheel, and you've got six different driving modes. Now, the first one's normal, which defaults when you start the car up or the truck up. I've got to stop saying car. And that gives you basically a neutral driving experience. It just allows you just to get up and go and drive anywhere you want. You've then got Sport, which I have to say does improve the gear changing. It doesn't make it like noticeably different, but it does improve how it takes off, and it finds the gear a little bit better. Not as much as you'd want it to, but it does make a big difference. Of course, it stays quite high up in the rev range, and with the engine being a diesel, it doesn't sound great, it sounds very boomy, but it does make a difference. And then you've got all the different terrain modes. So you've got, I have to look through this because there's so many. So you've got grass, gravel and snow, which does what it says on the tin. You've got rock, which even if I wanted to show you, I wouldn't, because we're in the UK. I don't know where there's anywhere rocky for me to go and try that out. There's, what else? There's mud and sand. Again, if you want to go into the beach or a green lane for what I did, you'd select that. And bar, which is a very interesting mode, because when they brought this truck out, they promoted it around the Baja. They said that the Baja is the most demanding place for any truck, any vehicle, and it's quite bold for them to market it around that. And they took this truck to Fox, which is one of the leading suspension makers in the world, and that alone tells you that they're serious, very serious. And as I said earlier, they've got dampening settings for both low speed and high speed. So in the sense of if you were tackling the Baja where you need to do slow speed stuff and high speed stuff, it's designed to absorb it both at the same time pretty much. And here in the UK, I can feel the fruits of its labour. It's brilliant. It honestly is. It really does make cars that are designed to really ride nice on the road look like idiots, to be fair, because this is mind-blowing. It really is. It really is. Now, you're all watching and probably thinking, bloody hell, Chris is doing a full review, and apart from the engine and gearbox, everything's plain sailing, and he's doing a really good job, and he's talking positively about a Ford for a change. And you know me, I'm unbiased, and I love Ford. The brand is awesome, and it's provided me with some great memories, and I currently own a Fiesta ST, so I'm not that hateful towards Ford. I'm just giving you my opinion, and that is all I can do. I can't give you an opinion of someone else or your own, because that'd be wrong. But there is one big elephant in the room, and yes, I know we're sitting in the biggest thing on the road, and probably around here at the minute, but we have to talk about the price. And that's where, unfortunately, it doesn't really make sense at all for anyone to even contemplate buying this, because this costs £50,000, and you can save some money by taking those ridiculous decals off the truck for saving yourself £750. But even so, this is £50,000 including VAT. And if you put that into context, a Ranger Wildtrak is 10 grand less, £10,000 less, and that pretty much does everything you need it to do. But the one thing that stands out is that because of how Ford have designed this, they've unfortunately taken some of the payload away and the towing capacity away. Now, the towing capacity is only 1,000 tonnes less, which 1,000 kilograms. 1,000 tonnes, that'd be ridiculous. 1,000 kilograms less, which in reality, that's not bad. You can still tow a race car to a circuit like what I'd need it for. Yeah, I don't know what you'd be towing that's 3.5 tonnes, but hey. So yeah, that isn't too much of a problem. The problem is the payload. Now, for a light commercial vehicle, you need to have 1,000 kilos of payload for it to qualify as a light commercial vehicle, which means you can then buy it as a company, a limited company, and you can then get the VAT, value added tax, off when you buy it. So in this instance, it's around £8,000. That's a lot of money. Now, because of what Ford have done with the chassis and the size and all the sort of technical stuff that they've done to it, the payload is unfortunately a lot less. I think it's roughly around 700 kilograms. Again, I'll put something to correct myself. So it's unfortunately not a light commercial vehicle. So you can't claim back the VAT. And as I said, that's £8,000 roughly. So they've now put it into its own niche in the market, because every other pickup quite comfortably sits in the bracket of being able to be a light commercial vehicle. So for someone that predominantly the target market for this sort of vehicle is going to be a tradesman, a builder, a plasterer, whatever, they will want to buy this for a company. And the only way that is suitable is if you're not VAT registered. But even still, you're mad to spend £50,000. And although I can justify it with what they've done to this, I can't at the same time, because there's so many awesome pickups on the market today, and for £50,000, that is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, if you're a successful builder and you're sighing and huffing at this remark and go 50 grand please, that's nothing, then by all means go ahead. But in the sensible world, the one that's realistic, if you're running a business and you've got a fleet of trucks, then yeah, this definitely is pointless. You're pricing yourself out of anything and probably not going to make any profit. But despite that, I love this thing, I really do. And if an off-roading place was open today, I would certainly be showing you guys what it's like when it gets through the mud and wet and all sorts of stuff, because this truly This truly is awesome, it really is. And me driving it on the road really doesn't do it justice, it really doesn't. And I urge you, if you ever get the experience to get given the keys to one of these things, please bite the person's hand off, because you will not be disappointed, you really won't. And I've actually heard rumours that the next Ranger Raptor, because I think in America they get a Ranger Raptor 2 with obviously the 3.5 litre V6 EcoBoost engine, and I've heard rumours that we're going to be getting the exact same here in the UK when the next Ranger comes out, because to be sure there is definitely going to be another generation of the Ranger, because nowadays pickups and SUVs are the talk of the town. You just see, if you don't see a pickup, you'll see an SUV. If you see an SUV, you'll see a pickup. It's just absolutely mad how the world's changed. And by this time you would have already seen the F-150 review that I've done with Carl, and it's crazy to actually see how a decade has changed in the motoring world. It is honestly mind-blowing, it really is. How you've got two of the same vehicles and they do things completely different, absolutely different, night and day. And you'd argue that this is definitely the more practical of vehicles, but the F-150 just had so much more to give. The engine just alone made you forget about everything else. The fact that it didn't corner very well, it didn't brake very well, it just made you forget about everything. Whereas in this, on the road, you're always reminded constantly about the woeful engine and the fact that it can't corner very well. And for me, the times that I'm going to be able to off-road is very minimal, so spending £50,000 on something to go off-roading now and again is, yeah, pointless. It really is. But nevertheless, I would still have one. I really would. And I'll show you some of the performance. I'll put my foot down. And even though you're in four-wheel drive, well, I'm in rear-wheel drive at the minute, you feel the wheels spin up at the back, and in a good, it's not really in a good way, it's very scary. I don't like it, because there is no feel to the back end whatsoever. It's almost, I can imagine like driving a hovercraft. It's completely uncontrollable, it just does its own thing and you have no hope of putting any input to save it. Throughout this review, you've probably come to the conclusion what you think of the Ranger Raptor. Yes, it's overly big and stupid, along with being very expensive and, yeah, lacks character in the engine and gearbox department. But that aside, Ford have truly created something special. A car or a vehicle that can do anything that you throw at it. Yes, this is truly an awesome all-terrain vehicle. It does what it says on the tin. And you have to remember, this is a pickup. It hasn't been branded as something that it can't do, like a Fiesta ST that is made to do B roads. A Lamborghini Huracan is made to tear up drag strips. This is designed to tear up anything that is thrown in its way. And as you can see, I've enjoyed my time with it very much. Now, yes, it is overly priced and it's pretty much a niche on the market. So the question is, would I have one? Let's take a minute to think about it. Psych! Hell yes, I would definitely have one. I have no need for one, but it makes me want one. It's got bundles of character, and besides the engine, we can forget about that. And I know they've used the Raptor name again to promote marketing, but this time I will forgive Ford for using that, because despite the engine choice, you can easily forget that and enjoy using this toy, because it is a toy. It's a big toy. We've gathered that it's not great on the road. It isn't designed to be great on the road, but oh, I'd have one every day of the week. And for that, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed today's video as much as I have been filming it. And I have to say again, thank you to the guys at Ford UK for lending me this for the week. It's been one of the greatest weeks of my life, it really has. And that is not me lying, it's the truth. But until next time, make sure you like, subscribe and comment on your thoughts of what you think of the Ranger Raptor, and would you have one? Because are you as crazy as me? Probably not. But hey, until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Now let's go and find something to break, potentially fix, give up, and break something else.
I'm a certified baller, whipping a Honda Civic with the windows tinted. I'ma pull up on you and just bang, 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 bang. Told you I'ma get it, then I got it back up off of me, cause you ain't gang, 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 gang. Yeah, yeah, look at me, look at me, look it. I was holed up in the basement till I got my shot. Pew, 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 took my shot, then I took it. I am so cute and so pretty, so hot and sexy.